Chapter 34-24. Night Sorrow. Isn't this path a little too difficult to walk? Little Fool said speechlessly as they continued forward, because at this moment, the surrounding vegetation's strength had already risen to half-step to third-grade supreme realm. With so many vegetation at this level attacking at the same time, the intensity of the flames was quite shocking. Although Night Sorrow could still bear it, the pressure was increasing. The fire demon's frantic situation was even more obvious. From time to time, it would be hit by the vegetation, looking a little pathetic. Looks like I have to increase my strength again. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow did not ignite his bloodline power. However, he began to use the power of ice and fire on his body. The effect of the power of fire was relatively ordinary, but the power of ice was obviously very effective against the vegetation in front of them. Many of the vegetation that attacked with their branches and leaves were frozen on the spot in an instant. There were even some roots that were floating in the air that were directly frozen. Night Sorrow said in surprise, "It seems that the power of ice can erupt with power that surpasses the past here." According to his judgment, although the power of ice would be effective, it should not be as strong as it was now. Too strong. Looks like the half-step to third-grade supreme realm vegetation is no longer a threat to us. The fire demon said casually after Night Sorrow suppressed most of the third-grade half-step to third-grade supreme realm vegetation. In the battle just now, it had already suffered a lot of injuries, but now it was relaxed. We can't be careless. After all, we can't see the end of it. Night Sorrow looked up at the 9 suns in the sky and continued forward with the fire demon. At this moment, Little Fool, who was controlling the Eternal Divine Tower, transmitted again. "I've prepared a few more attacks from 4th grade half-step to 4th grade supreme realm. If you need them, let me know." "Okay. Maybe we'll need them soon," Night Sorrow said after observing the surroundings. Then he and the fire demon faced the attacks of 4th grade half-step to 4th grade supreme realm vegetation. Relatively speaking, the number of such vegetation was much less than 3rd grade half-step to 3rd grade supreme realm. There were about a few dozen on both sides. However, their attack power and the intensity of their flames had obviously increased, making it more difficult to deal with them. Facing the attacks of dozens of 4th grade half-step to 4th grade supreme realm vegetation, not to mention the Balrog, even Night Sorrow would find it hard to endure. Although these plants were much weaker than cultivators of the same level, they were still very difficult to deal with when grouped together. He glanced at the flight of stairs in front of him, but there was still no end. At this moment, Night Sorrow began to mutter in his heart. He felt that it was not a good idea to keep walking and being attacked like this. However, he still burned his Phoenix bloodline and G-scale bloodline to raise his strength to another level. It temporarily blocked some of the vegetation in front of him. While he was resisting, he began to wonder if his thoughts were being restricted. Should I attack the power source of these plants, the 9 suns in the void? Night Sorrow told Little Fool and the Flame Devil about this idea. The Balrog immediately agreed. "I feel that my lord's thoughts are very reasonable. As long as the energy source of these plants is cut off, they will not be able to do anything. Regardless of whether this is the case or not, we have to try our best. We can still fight against the 4th grade plants in front of us, but if we take a few more steps and they are all 5th grade half-step to the Supreme Realm, it will be difficult for us to deal with them." As he spoke, Night Sorrow, who was fighting against the 4th grade half-step to the Supreme Realm vegetation, suddenly soared into the sky with the Flame Devil. He shot the Icefire Motherchild Spear at one of the suns in the void. Whoosh! Just as Night Sorrow shot the Icefire Motherchild Spear, the 9 suns launched a flame attack at Night Sorrow at the same time. Night Sorrow focused his gaze and realized that there were Flame Devils in all 9 suns. Furthermore, there were 9 5th grade half-step to the Supreme Realm Flame Devils. The Icefire Motherchild Spear he shot out was also devoured by these flames very quickly. 9 5th grade half-step to the Supreme Realm Flame Devils. How are we going to deal with them? Seeing that there were 9 such existences in the void, the Flame Devil that rose into the void with Night Sorrow was dumbfounded. As for the vegetation below them, it was constantly growing and attacking them. At that moment, Night Sorrow shouted, "Flame Devil, try your best to deal with the vegetation below. I will deal with the 9 Flame Devils in the void." This. Alright. Although the flame devil wanted to say that the vegetation below was not easy to deal with, he immediately became obedient when he saw the 9 suns in the void. At that moment, Jinghai, who was in the grotto heaven, suddenly sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Lord Night Devil, your situation is not too optimistic. Why don't you let me out to fight? Now that I have more or less recovered, I can definitely provide more power than the flame devil. Alright. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow did not hesitate and directly let Jinghai out. He did not make him make any oath. This was because Jinghai was no longer a threat to him. Thank you, Lord Night Devil. It was Jinghai's fault for offending you in the past. Jinghai, who had been released, knew that he was no match for Night Sorrow, so he did not dare to have any other thoughts. After saying that, he peacefully dealt with the rising vegetation together with the flame devil. As for Night Sorrow, he brought the eternal divine tower, and faced the 9 flame devils alone. And these 9 flame devils seemed to be unable to leave the sun they were in. Therefore, he could only attack them from afar. After realizing this, Night Sorrow immediately burned his Leaken bloodline, and used the attack and defense techniques to enhance himself. He raised his state to the strongest and flew toward one of the flame devils. He was prepared to use close combat to kill the flame devil in front of him instantly. As for the other 8 flame devils, it was obvious that they were unable to leave the surface of the sun, just as Night Sorrow had thought. He watched as Night Sorrow attacked one of the flame demons and gained the upper hand. However, he could do nothing but worry. There was nothing he could do to help. He could only use fire attacks from afar. Under such circumstances, the flame devil, which was obviously weaker than Night Sorrow, was quickly killed. After Night Sorrow killed this flame devil, a portion of the vegetation that Jinghai and the flame devil were fighting withered and fell into the bottomless abyss. The amount was about 1/9 of it. In an instant, Night Sorrow understood that as long as he killed the remaining 8 flame devils, they should be able to completely solve the problem of the vegetation. He immediately flew toward the next sun. However, as Night Sorrow was flying, the flame devils launched fierce fire attacks one after another. Although these flames were not as terrifying as the Earth Core flame, they were still very strong. However, the Green Phoenix battle armor had just advanced to peak 4th grade half-step Supreme Realm. After activating it, it helped Night Sorrow block a large portion of the flames. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow completely released his divine domain and power of virtue, instantly blocking the flames. He successfully flew to the next sun. Chapter 34-25. Amazing! Seeing that Night Sorrow had dealt with a 5th grade half-step Supreme Realm fire demon, he flew up to another sun. The fire demon below, who was fighting the vegetation with Jinghai, immediately shouted. Jinghai's expression was a little awkward. This was because he realized that the distance between him and Yishan was widening. It was no longer realistic for him to catch up to Night Sorrow. This feeling made him feel a little hopeless. At this moment, Night Sorrow had killed another fire demon as expected. After Xiao Chen killed this flame demon, some of the vegetation in the area was completely destroyed. The pressure on the fire demon and Jinghai lessened even more. In addition, many of the vegetation had already given up on attacking the 2 of them, and chose to grow crazily, attacking Night Sorrow. However, the 2 of them were too far apart. Although they had grown to such a height, they could not explode with terrifying attack strength. The impact on Night Sorrow was minimal. Under such circumstances, Jinghai and the fire demon understood that they had basically flattened this mystic realm. The 9 fire demons looked terrifying, but they could not leave the sun they were in. The restriction on them was too great, and it was fatal. The 2 of you, prepare to enter my space. They can't do anything to me, but they might attack you. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had dealt with another fire demon, had already launched an attack on the next sun. He reminded the fire demon and Jinghai. Yes, sir. The fire demon, who had been fighting the vegetation with all his might, immediately waited for Night Sorrow's summons. Jinghai thought of many possibilities, but in the end he did not resist. In a situation where the vegetation had no effect on Night Sorrow, he finally chose to enter the space. Just as Night Sorrow kept them in his space grotto heaven, the sun in the sky happened to shoot down several 5th grade half-step Supreme Realm flames. The fire demon was still fine. Jinghai could not withstand flames of this level at all, and he immediately felt a lingering fear. He sent a voice transmission. "Thank you, Lord Night Demon." Although he felt humiliated, he felt that it was fine as long as he survived. "You're welcome. If I get an opportunity this time, I have to thank you. If you help me with something in the future, I will let you go completely. The enmity between us can be written off." Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Clear Sea as he continued to fight the flame fiend. "Let me think about it." There was no need for Night Sorrow to say anything. Jinghai could already guess. Night Sorrow wanted to make a move on Nangonghe. His heart was struggling. This is really an interrogation of your humanity. Night Sorrow observed Jinghai's struggling expression and thought to himself. At the same time, he once again unleashed a lethal attack on the Balrog before him. He had successfully killed it. After killing several flame devils in a row, Night Sorrow completely realized that the problem of their safety had been successfully resolved. Then, without hesitation, he killed all the fire demons on the other suns as well. After all the flame fiends had been killed, the vegetation on both sides of the floating stairs had all fallen to the bottom of the valley. The 9 suns merged into one. After the 9 suns merged into one, the end of the suspended stairs immediately appeared. "It's finally here." Recalling Jinghai's words, Night Sorrow flew down from the merged suns. He followed the suspended stairs all the way to the end. Then he walked up to a stone pillar suspended in the air. This stone pillar was covered with all kinds of stone carvings, and it seemed to emit an ancient aura. A box was placed on top of an altar right above the stone pillar. The box was empty, and there was a round hole in its center. When Night Sorrow reached out and picked up the box, the sun that had just merged into one rapidly shrank and flew into the box. "Is this the flame core?" With the box in hand, Night Sorrow felt that this trip had been quite successful. After sensing it carefully, he stored the flame core into the space. This world had completely darkened. The suspended stairs also began to break apart one by one, continuously breaking apart and smashing into the abyss below. "Not good, this world is completely ruined. We have to leave quickly." Realizing that something was wrong, Night Sorrow immediately flew to the passageway. He summoned the Flame Fiend and said, "Flame Fiend, let's work together again and open the passageway." "Yes, my lord." The Flame Fiend responded and attacked together with Night Sorrow. However, the attack that had allowed them to successfully enter this world had now lost its effect. Not even half of the ice wall had melted. How could this be? Seeing that he and Night Sorrow had not opened the ice wall even after working together, the Flame Fiend was astonished. At this moment Night Sorrow said, "Let's try again." However, after trying again, he and the Flame Fiend still did not open the ice wall. At this moment Jinghai, who was somewhat envious of Night Sorrow's flame core, reminded him, "Lord Night Devil, take out the flame core you obtained and absorb its power. Try again and see if you can blast open the ice wall." Okay. In fact, Night Sorrow had also thought of this, but he had not had the time to try it. After Jinghai finished speaking, he took out the flame core. At this moment, the flame core was no longer as seductive as before. It looked much softer. Night Sorrow absorbed a little, and felt that his flame attribute had increased by a lot. After absorbing for about 20 breaths, he felt that the flames he controlled had increased by a level. He immediately raised his hand and attacked, blasting open the ice wall. Then he left the mystic realm with the Flame Fiend. After successfully leaving the mystic realm, Night Sorrow did not choose to leave the Sea of Sunday. He kept the Flame Fiend in the space. He set up a concealment array on the spot. He continued to absorb the flame core's power. The flame attribute he controlled also rapidly increased. However, after absorbing it, Night Sorrow realized that he could not stop at all. He completely followed the rhythm of the flame core, constantly absorbing and fusing with it. It had lasted for 2,000 years, which was enough to drive him crazy. If I had known earlier, I would have finished absorbing the flame core in the Eternal Divine Tower. 2,000 years later, Night Sorrow's cultivation had advanced to Half-Step Supreme Realm 3rd stage. The flame attribute he controlled could even kill some Half-Step Supreme Realm 5th stage experts. However, he was somewhat regretful. At this moment, Jinghai said, Supremacy Limitless said that this flame core can only be absorbed in the Sea of Sunday. You did not do anything wrong. Besides, advancing a small realm in 2,000 years is already heaven-defying. What's there to regret? Is that so? That's good. Night Sorrow calmed down when he heard Jing Hai's words. Then he left the Sea of Sun with Jing Hai, the Flame Fiend, and the Eternal Divine Tower. He stepped on the road back. After not returning for 2,000 years, he was very worried about his friends in the Night Devil territory. Chapter 34-26. 1 second to remember love on /you reading /book wonderful. No pop-up window free reading. It's been 2,000 years. I wonder how my old friends are doing. Some of you should have broken through to the half-step supreme realm, right? On the way back, Night Sorrow couldn't help but ponder. In the years since he entered the foggy area, under the pressure of the 3 supremes, he had been fighting and cultivating. He didn't even have time to see his family, let alone spend time with his friends. In his heart, he felt a little tired. Night Sorrow, what are you thinking about? Are you missing your wife far away? During the flight, Little 7, who hadn't spoken for a long time, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. He saw a trace of fatigue on Night Sorrow's face. Yes, I miss my family and friends. But when I think of them, I think of the shadow brought by the 3 supremes. In order to protect this world, I have to continue to improve my strength quickly. Night Sorrow sighed and continued. It won't be long before they come out to wreak havoc in the world. I have to quickly advance to the supreme realm. Then what are your plans for the next step? Little 7 continued to ask. Now he was the same as Little 2 and didn't know what Night Sorrow's plans were. Of course, I'm going to snatch the Eternal Divine Tower, and let you all shine with the glory of the Supreme Realm. Then, I should return to the Eternal Supreme Realm, and wipe out all the invading foreign races. Let the Eternal Divine Tower absorb their converted energy. It's better than leaving them to the 3 supremes. Night Sorrow continued to send a voice transmission. Now that his cultivation had advanced to the 3rd stage of the half-step supreme realm, he judged that he should be able to fight with Nangong He. So he was going to snatch the 1st and 3rd levels of the Eternal Divine Tower. At the same time, he would help Yen Hengshi retrieve some of his bones. Hearing this, Little 5 asked, is this choice more suitable than cultivating in the void? I'm not sure, but I feel that after leaving for a long time, I should go back and see my friends. Night Sorrow explained. He was not prepared to give up on some of the opportunities in the void. However, his current strength had advanced to the half-step supreme boundary grade 3. Furthermore, after obtaining the flame core, he already had the strength to do some things. He should choose to return as soon as possible. That's good. Once we recover our limeters, we can also help you quickly increase your strength. After Little 5 finished speaking, he didn't say anything else. As for Night Sorrow, he asked Jing Hai about Nangong Hai and Andrew, as well as the matter of the 4 cities in the foggy area. After getting the answer he wanted, he sat on the deck of the starship and drank wine in the starry sky. It was rare that he did not continue to cultivate. After flying in this environment for about 100 years, Night Sorrow defeated dozens of star beasts. Bai Wuji, who had been completely subdued, was healed. Finally, they returned to the foggy area. After arriving at the foggy area, Night Sorrow immediately flew towards the Night Devil territory. After thousands of years of war, the foggy area had finally stabilized. Many people were using the resources they had plundered to reach a higher level. For a moment, the entire foggy area was quiet. When he returned to the Night Devil territory, Night Sorrow found that Friend's City was still there. Using his divine soul to investigate, he found that Jia Lin was cultivating in seclusion in the City Lord's mansion. At this moment, her cultivation had already advanced to the 3rd stage of the half-step supreme realm. She was much stronger than before. As for the others, he only sensed Yin Yi and Xian Yan in the city. At this moment, Yin Yi and Xian Yan were both at the peak of the 1st stage of the half-step supreme realm. Their auras were not bad. After arriving at the City Lord's mansion where Jia Lin was, Night Sorrow called Jia Lin, Yin Yi and Xian Yan over. After exchanging a few pleasantries with them, he asked, where did the others go? Why didn't I sense them in the city? Oh, recently, We found a secret realm in the Night Devil territory that is extremely suitable for cultivation. Everyone is cultivating inside. After Night Sorrow asked, Jialin immediately replied. Then, Yunyi also smiled and said, "That place is indeed very magical. The cultivation speed is even 10,000 times faster than usual. This is simply too unrealistic." "Oh, where is that secret realm? Take me there to have a look." Hearing this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised. He had never seen a paradise that could increase one's cultivation speed by 10,000 times. "There's a teleportation portal in the city that leads there. We'll take you there. Now almost everyone is cultivating there." As Jielin spoke, he, Yunyi, and Xiannian brought Night Sorrow to the teleportation portal in the city. However, after arriving at the teleportation portal, she suddenly realized that the teleportation portal was not working. The blackthorn crystal could not activate it at all. How could this be? Could it be that the teleportation portal there has been destroyed? Realizing that the teleportation portal could not be used, Jielin was astonished. "Let me try." When Night Sorrow heard this, he immediately tried and realized that the teleportation portal was indeed not working. His heart was suddenly in his throat. He said, "Immediately teleport to the nearest city. We'll fly to the secret realm." "Okay." Jielin did not dawdle. He responded and teleported the three of them to Frost City, which was only half a day's journey away from the secret realm. After arriving at Frost City, Night Sorrow said, "Enter my space. I'll take you to the secret realm." "Okay. I'll be in charge of leading the way," Xiannian said immediately after the three of them were taken into Night Sorrow's space. Then, under his command, Night Sorrow, who had raised his strength to the maximum, quickly led the three of them to the secret realm. After about 12 hours, they appeared at the periphery of the secret realm. At this time, the secret realm that could provide for tens of millions of people to cultivate had been sealed. Something must have happened. The entrance could not be entered. This made Jielin, who had tried several times, change his expression. At this time, Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe the ripple-like entrance. He said, "There's an array here, so you can't open it." After that, he summoned the restriction-breaking hammers and said, "Both of you break the array in front of you. We already know what's going on. Don't worry." The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said, and began to break the array with the female hammer. After about 2 hours, they successfully broke the array in front of them. Then, Jielin opened the entrance and led Night Sorrow and the others into the secret realm. As soon as they entered the secret realm, Night Sorrow felt an extremely powerful aura. This aura had even surpassed half a step to the supreme realm of 5th stage. As if it would step into the supreme realm at any time. He immediately reminded them, "Be careful. There's a super expert here." As he said this, he took Yunyi and Xiannian into the space again. Then, side by side with Jielin, they walked slowly into the secret realm. At this time, the secret realm was completely different from what Jielin had seen before. In the past, the secret realm was definitely a paradise. Now it was dark and shabby. Moreover, there were strange stone carvings on the stone walls. Chapter 34-27. These evil-looking monster stone carvings recorded the history of some kind of strange beast tribe. However, Night Sorrow and the rest were not in the mood to study it. Using the power of his divine sense, Yishang confidently probed the area, and discovered that there was indeed a top-tier exotic beast expert here. This strange beast expert had imprisoned all the people of the Night Demon territory in a sealed array formation. Using the power of the array formation, it was absorbing all of their vitality. The cultivators in the array formation had cultivated for more than 2,000 years with the support of large amounts of resources. More than 30 of them had already advanced to half-step to Supreme Realm. They provided the strange beast expert with a very powerful aura. Sensing all of this, Night Sorrow immediately shouted angrily, "Bastard, stop! Who is it? How dare you disturb the king's cultivation? You deserve to die." Night Sorrow had just opened his mouth when some of the stone carvings on the stone wall jumped down from the stone wall and blocked in front of Night Sorrow. "The person who will kill you." Night Sorrow sized up a total of 9 half-step to Supreme Realm 4th grade strange beasts in front of him. After these strange beasts jumped out of the stone wall, they turned into flesh and blood. He immediately summoned Bai Wuji. Together with Bai Wuji and Jialin, they fought the 9 half-step Supreme Realm strange beasts in front of them. Bai Wuji was a half-step Supreme Realm 4th grade, but he was clearly stronger than ordinary 4th grade cultivators. When he erupted, he could basically display the strength of a 5th grade cultivator. Fighting 3 strange beasts alone was not much pressure. Jialin was slightly weaker, but he could temporarily block the attacks of 2 strange beasts. As for the remaining 4, they were all dealt with by Night Sorrow. Although he was fighting 4 strange beasts alone, Night Sorrow's efficiency was clearly higher than Bai Wuji and Jialin's. Worried about everyone, he immediately activated the 33 Heaven Star Ruins secret battle technique and destruction divine ability. He used the Icefire Motherchild Spear and other ultimate techniques on them. Soon, the 4 strange beasts in front of him were killed. Jialin, let me help you. After killing the strange beasts in front of him in less than 20 breaths, Night Sorrow began to help Jialin kill the 2 strange beasts she was fighting. His speed was extremely shocking. The increase in your strength is too terrifying. Seeing Night Sorrow cutting down exotic beasts half a step to the supreme stage like he was chopping vegetables, Jialin was immediately shocked. At this time, Night Sorrow had already begun to help Bai Wuji in battle. This time, they'd annihilated the beast before them in less than 10 breaths of time. Follow me. Night Sorrow roared angrily when he sensed that the aura of the exotic beast expert was gradually increasing. The aura of the people in the Night Demon territory was getting weaker and weaker. Some of them were even directly sucked to death. He was prepared to quickly find the mutated beast expert and kill him. However, they had only taken a few steps when some beasts half a step into the limitless 4th stage jumped out of the stone wall. Although the strange beast this time was only at the 4th grade of half-step Supreme Realm, its aura was clearly much stronger. Moreover, there were almost 20 of them. Seeing the 20-plus strange beasts blocking the way, Bai Wuji immediately frowned and said, "So many strange beasts, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with." "There's nothing difficult about it. Watch me." Night Sorrow roared and directly burned his Phoenix bloodline and Jialin bloodline. He blasted out the Icefire Motherchild Spear at the 20-plus strange beasts in front of him. This time, he added some flame core energy into the Icefire Motherchild Spear. After shooting it out, several strange beasts were directly killed. This is too strong. Seeing Night Sorrow kill 4 or 5 half-step Supreme Stage exotic beasts in one move, Bai Wuji was immediately surprised. According to his judgment, the current Night Sorrow's strength was at least 20 times stronger than when he fought with him. This was an extremely terrifying increase. This is nothing. Compared to the exotic beast expert inside, you're still far from it. Follow me and kill. After Night Sorrow killed a few strange beasts in one move, he went on a killing spree in the tunnel. Bai Wuji and Jialin assisted him to complete all kinds of kills. This time, although the strange beasts in the stone carvings were stronger and more numerous, they were quickly killed again. I didn't expect you to have some ability. However, you have to pass through the 8 generals under my command. At this moment, the strange beast that was absorbing the energy of the people in the Night Demon territory made a sound for the first time. After that, 8 strange beasts that seemed to be able to support the heavens jumped out in an instant. These strange beasts looked more ferocious than the other, and their auras were very powerful. Each of them was a half-step Supreme Stage 5th stage existence. With their path blocked, Jialin and Bai Wuji's expressions immediately became very ugly. Bai Wuji could at most fight one of these strange beasts, and it was not easy for Jialin to survive under the attack of one of them. Therefore, their hearts were very heavy. According to their judgment, even Night Sorrow could not kill 6 half-step Supreme Stage exotic beasts alone. After all, they were too strong. Night Sorrow could sense Jialin and Bai Wuji's auras and immediately said, "You guys retreat a little, I'll deal with them." Night Demon, you have the ability to fight 8 alone. Hearing this, Bai Wuji immediately asked in surprise. Obviously, according to Night Sorrow's words, he had not used his full strength yet. Looking at it this way, although he was a half-step Supreme Stage 3rd stage, the combat strength he could unleash was close to the peak of the half-step Supreme Stage. Whether I can or not, I still have to fight and kill them quickly. Night Sorrow said coldly and sent a voice transmission to Little Fool. Little Fool, prepare to use the attack you prepared. Okay. Although the attack I prepared with Bai Wuji's divine artifact is also a half-step supreme stage 5th stage, it can directly kill one or two of these strange beasts. Little Fool replied confidently. Okay. Get ready to attack at any time. I'm going to attack. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe the 8 generals in front of him. Once again, he had Jielin and Bai Wuji retreat. With the golden heavenly halberd and the desolate war halberd in hand, he began to fight with them. This time, as soon as the battle began, Night Sorrow burned his Leaken bloodline and used the attack and defense techniques on himself. He raised his state to the extreme. After that, he used the power of the flame core and continuously used the 2 halberds to unleash his ultimate techniques. Under such a level of attack, the half-step supreme stage 5th stage beasts in front of him were basically no different from the 4th stage beasts just now. Soon, Night Sorrow killed 2 or 3 of them. At this time, in order to save time, he suddenly sent a voice transmission. Little Fool, attack. Okay. As Little Fool replied, he cooperated with Night Sorrow and blasted out a half-step supreme stage 5th stage attack. Night Sorrow faced the remaining strange beasts and used the Divine Essence Trap Array and Merit Trap Array, as well as the defense technique, so that they could not escape. After being hit, another 2 strange beasts fell. After that, Night Sorrow unleashed his attack again, and killed the remaining strange beasts as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Without stopping, he rushed toward the strange beasts that were absorbing everyone's aura. Chapter 34-28. Damned Ant. How dare you stop this king's good deed? You're courting death. The king-level beast that was absorbing everyone's vitality saw Night Sorrow break through its defenses and attack it. It let out a cold roar and temporarily gave up on absorbing the vitality of the people in the Night Demon territory. It quickly flew over and violently attacked Night Sorrow. Who are you calling an ant? Night Sorrow did not panic at all when facing this beast. He directly used the Void Broken Palm divine ability and forcefully resolved the attack. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw clearly that this peak half-step Supreme Realm Beast King was a beast with a tiger's head, snake's body, and bat wings. This beast gave off an extremely cold and dangerous aura. After resolving the first attack, Night Sorrow immediately used the Golden Heavenly Halberd and the Desolate War Halberd to shoot out the Ice-Fire Mother Spear. This time, he used the strongest essence of the Flame Core in the Ice-Fire Mother Spear. This attack was the highest level attack he had in front of him. After blasting out, with the help of the Merit Trap Array, it successfully bombarded the tiger-headed snake beast. He was sent flying by the explosion. At this moment, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. Jielin Bai Wuji, I'll hold him back. You guys go and save him. A war. The tiger-headed snake beast that was hit by Night Sorrow was basically immune to his frost power. However, when it was burned by the flames, it immediately let out a mournful howl and became completely berserk. While it was being burned, it also roared and attacked Night Sorrow with an ultimate skill. Several spikes on its back shot out. After these spikes were shot out, each of them bloomed with an evil light. They cut through space and time and strangely shot towards Night Sorrow. As expected of a peak half-step Supreme Realm beast, its attack is almost impossible to dodge. When these spikes shot out, Night Sorrow was sure that he could not dodge this attack with just his speed. Immediately, he formed a Divine Essence Trap Array around him to mitigate these attacks. At the same time, he blasted out the Fiery Demon Subduing Spear into the void, using the scorching heat of the Fire Core to deal with these sharp thorns with an evil aura. However, even such flames were unable to completely incinerate the spikes. 3 spikes shot through the Divine Essence Trapping Formation and attacked Night Sorrow one after another. At this time, Night Sorrow used the Heaven-Defying Dragon Roaming Steps to dodge, but it was too late. 3 consecutive spikes pierced his arm and sternum. After the 3 spikes hit Night Sorrow's arm and sternum, they immediately exploded, causing Night Sorrow to bleed on the spot. The waiter immediately asked with concern, Night Sorrow, are you okay? Are your injuries serious? It's not a fatal wound. It can be healed. Night Sorrow used his Leakin bloodline to heal his wounds and replied to Little Fool. At the same time, he gained a deeper understanding of the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast's strength. It was a half-step Supreme Realm exotic beast that could advance to the Supreme Realm at any time. Some of its innate attacks were still very powerful. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow put away the Desolation War halberd while healing his injuries. He cast the Divine Essence Trapping Formation and Merit Trapping Formation, as well as the Defense Seal, at the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast. After temporarily trapping it, he quickly closed the distance between them and prepared to engage in close combat. To him, he had already used the very powerful Icefire Motherchild Spear earlier, but the effect seemed to be ordinary. Therefore, he was prepared to find another way. In the process of close combat, he used a spirit attack to cause serious damage to it. He had already discovered that this tiger-headed snake body exotic beast's defense was extremely shocking. After all, even after being burned at the core level, its defense was still not broken. You want to engage in close combat with this king? How dare you? Seeing that Night Sorrow chose to engage in close combat, the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast was not shocked. Instead, it was overjoyed. Immediately, its body became about the same size as Night Sorrow. It increased its flexibility a lot. After both sides engaged in close combat, Night Sorrow discovered that his opponent's close combat ability was indeed very strong. Moreover, the strength of its body was as he had imagined. It was almost in an invulnerable state. His continuous attacks did not cause any real damage to it. At this time, the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast laughed. Ha! An ant that doesn't know anything. Don't you know that in order to advance to the Supreme Realm, the first thing you need to do is to advance your body to an invulnerable state? With your body's strength, you still dare to engage in close combat with this king? You're really courting death. There's such a saying? Doesn't that mean that almost all Supreme Realm Masters have invincible bodies? Hearing this, while Night Sorrow was surprised, he also understood something. Then he transmitted his voice to Little Fool. Take the restriction-breaking hammer, and go help Jialin and Baiwuji. After you succeed in saving them, you guys leave first. I'll deal with this tiger-headed snake body exotic beast myself. I'll meet up with you guys later. He felt that he might not be able to completely kill the exotic beast in front of him today, because this tiger-headed snake body exotic beast's body had already reached perfection. It was very difficult to completely kill it. Understood. I'll contact you via voice transmission later. Little Fool received Night Sorrow's voice transmission and replied. At the same time, he immediately controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to fly to help Jialin and Baiwuji. At this time, with Night Sorrow restraining the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast, they had already successfully found the place where everyone was trapped. However, they could not break the formation no matter how hard they tried. When Little Fool arrived, he immediately took out the restriction-breaking hammer and asked them to help break the formation. At this time, the tiger-headed snake body exotic beast was very confident in fighting Night Sorrow. According to its judgment, Jialin, Baiwuji, and the Eternal Divine Tower flying over did not have the ability to break the formation it had set up. As the battle progressed, Night Sorrow basically gave up on the idea of killing it. He kept using all kinds of divine spirit attacks to exhaust it. The tiger-headed snake body exotic beast was not in a hurry. It used all kinds of attacks to attack Night Sorrow. Through the battle, it had already discovered that Night Sorrow was not simple, and had the intention to devour and refine him. It felt that as long as it absorbed all the energy in Night Sorrow's body, it would definitely be able to advance to the supreme stage. However, although Night Sorrow was scratched many times during the battle, he relied on his powerful Leakin bloodline to recover. After fighting for about an hour, the wounds on his body from the 3 spikes had already recovered. It saw Night Sorrow's recovery ability with its own eyes. The tiger-headed snake body exotic beast said greedily, "This king will definitely obtain your bloodline today." "You can't do it." As Night Sorrow replied, he used his divine spirit to check the restriction-breaking hammer's movements. Although the restriction-breaking hammer was trying its best to break the formation, its progress was still slow against a formation set up by a quasi-supreme stage expert. He When I was fighting with you just now, this king did not use the strength of a quasi-supreme stage expert at all. I'll let you have a taste of this next. The tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast laughed sinisterly and completely changed its aura. In an instant, its aura became completely different. Chapter 34:29. After the tiger-headed, snake-bodied beast's aura changed, the aura that erupted from its body vaguely had the aura of the supreme state. Night Sorrow had felt this aura from Yen Hengshi before. He immediately became vigilant against the beast. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Xiong Chue. Try to find a way to break the formation as quickly as possible. We're already doing our best, but the strength of this formation is too high. It's beyond what we can handle. Xiong Chue heard the transmission and replied. Ask your friends in the Eternal Divine Tower to help provide some energy or resources, so that you can advance on the spot. Night Sorrow was already very risky to transmit his voice while facing the tiger-headed, snake-bodied beast. He no longer had the energy to talk to Shower about this. After replying to Xiong Chue, he activated all the statuses, including the Star Ruin power, and prepared to face the Beast King's challenge. Die for this king. After the tiger-headed, snake-bodied Beast King raised his aura, he sensed that Night Sorrow's Leaken bloodline was at the supreme level. His heart trembled, and he wanted to take it for himself. With a roar, he took out a snake staff and smashed it at Night Sorrow. This move seemed ordinary, but it contained the power of the quasi-supreme state. This was something that Night Sorrow did not possess yet. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he should not use the Golden Heavenly Halberd or the Desolation Halberd to take it head-on. Therefore, he condensed the Star Ruin power and attacked the snake staff with the Star Ruin Motherchild Spear. Boom! The Star Ruin Motherchild Spear was one of Night Sorrow's strongest attacks. After bombarding the Beast King's snake staff, it immediately repelled the tiger-headed, snake-bodied Beast King. This not only surprised the tiger-headed, snake-bodied Beast King, but also Night Sorrow. What kind of power is this? Why is it so strong? He was puzzled when the Beast King with the snake staff was repelled. He did not know what kind of power Night Sorrow had used. At this moment, Night Sorrow also did not understand. He did not expect the Star Ruin power to have such an effect. This power was even stronger than the flame core he had just controlled. He thought to himself, if that's the case, what kind of effect will the combination of the Star Ruin's power and the core of the flame produce? With that in mind, Night Sorrow shot out the Motherchild gun again while the strange Beast King was still in shock. This time, he used the flame as the sub-spear and the power of the Star Ruins as the main spear. The Beast King immediately used its footwork to dodge. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow once again executed the Divine Origin Trapping Formation, the Merit Trapping Formation, and the Defense Seal. Instantly, the Beast King's speed was greatly reduced. Damn it! The primal chaos was formed by nature. The trapped exotic Beast King sneered coldly. Suddenly, he executed another ultimate technique in the trap formation. When this ultimate skill was used, its power was clearly stronger than the snake staff's attack just now. In fact, it was much bigger. So you didn't dodge out of fear. Instead, you made me choose to exchange blows with you again. Night Sorrow, who was paying attention to the Beast King with the sea serpent's eye, immediately saw through his thoughts. However, right now he was filled with boundless confidence. He didn't choose to dodge at all. Instead, he chose to clash head-on with the exotic Beast King. After the two's attacks collided, Night Sorrow and the exotic Beast King's bodies kept retreating because of the backlash. They both crashed into the wall behind them and sank deep into it. No wonder you're so confident. It turns out that this chaos is really powerful. Night Sorrow, who had been blasted into the stone wall, felt his body and realized that he had almost been killed by the collision. There were at least 20 wounds on his body, and each of them was so deep that his bones could be seen. He didn't leave the stone wall. Instead, he took out a few pills from the space and swallowed them. Then he activated the Leaken bloodline and recovered quickly. However, although the Leaken bloodline's recovery ability was extremely powerful, it was not enough to let him recover his combat ability in a moment. At this moment, Night Sorrow used the power of his divine soul to sense the exotic beast king in the distance, and found that its situation wasn't much better. It was also recovering in the stone wall. However, what surprised Night Sorrow was that the exotic beast king's recovery speed was even faster than his, who had the leak in bloodline. He immediately began to ponder what was going on. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow recalled the exotic beasts he had encountered when he had just entered the mystic realm. He guessed, "This exotic beast king and I are both injured now. The reason why it can recover so quickly must be related to the stone wall, or the array. If we allow him to recover at this rate, we might all die here." At this thought, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Baiwuji. "Baiwuji, the exotic beast king in the stone wall is seriously injured now. It can't attack. Get it out of the stone wall." "Yes, my lord." Baiwuji, who couldn't help with the restriction-breaking hammer, immediately called for Jielin. They came near the stone wall where the exotic beast king was and started attacking it. At this time, the exotic beast king was very regretful. Why did he send out all his generals? If he hadn't sent them out, he would be invincible now. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Helpless, he could only drag his injured body and use the power of his bloodline to forcefully respond. Attacking in such a situation was equivalent to risking his life, but he had no other choice. However, his strength was much higher than Jielin and Baiwuji's. Although the two of them attacked with all their might, they were all neutralized. This made Baiwuji very angry, and he felt that he was too useless. Night Sorrow, who was using the power of his soul to check the situation, reminded the two of them, "Just delay it. Don't push it too far. Otherwise the exotic beast king will self-destruct and die with us." "My lord, I will be careful." Hearing this, Baiwuji immediately reacted. Actually, this kind of battle was very good, and he was no longer obsessed with it. As for Night Sorrow, he quickly recovered. Seeing that the situation was not good, the exotic beast king hesitated for a moment, and finally decided to give up. Chao Jielin and Baiwuji unleashed a heavenly primal chaos art before diving back into the stone walls to escape. The exotic beast king's speed was not something that Jielin and Baiwuji could catch up to. They could only helplessly give up the chase. At this time, Night Sorrow slowly came out of the stone wall and said, "It's okay. We were able to force a quasi-supreme venerable to retreat. It's already a success. You're so badly injured. You'd better recuperate quickly." Jielin immediately reminded him when he saw the many wounds on Night Sorrow's body. "I'm fine. Let's go and see our friends who are trapped." Night Sorrow, who was walking slowly toward the array, kept an eye on the exotic beast king. However, the exotic beast king did not appear. It must have escaped. Then, under Yi Shang's gaze, he used the restriction-breaking hammer, which had been raised to the peak of the 4th grade of the half-supreme realm, to successfully break the formation. After the array was broken, Night Sorrow checked it, and his expression became serious. Chapter 34:30. The people of the Night Demon territory in the formation were all extremely weak. Most of them had fainted, and some of them had lost their lives. They had obviously died. There were quite a number of them who had died, about 70 to 80. These cultivators were basically at the lower heavenly supreme level, and were considered weak in the Night Demon territory. They had all died from having their vitality and blood sucked dry. "Save them, hurry up and save them." Seeing the situation in front of him, Night Sorrow swore to himself that he would definitely kill the exotic beast king to avenge today's grudge. However, at this moment he had no time to think about other things. He immediately began to save people. Using his leak in bloodline, he helped cultivators recover one after another. "Brother Yi, you're finally here. Quick, help me check on Feng Shui." When Wan Jianzong recovered a little and woke up, he immediately said excitedly when he saw Night Sorrow. He was very worried about his wife. "Don't worry, Feng Shui is fine. Don't say anything else. Immediately take a pill and recover your vitality." Night Sorrow used the power of merit to purify some of the negative aura on Wan Jianzong's body, and handed him a pill. Then he went to Xiao Tianxuan's side. While treating him, he asked, "Brother Xiao, what's going on?" He felt that Xiao Tianxian should know the ins and outs of the matter since he did not faint. After we discovered this secret realm, we have been cultivating here. In the first few years of cultivation, our strength increased at an astonishing speed, so we summoned everyone here. But a few days ago, the entire secret realm suddenly changed. The exotic beast king led many subordinates and rushed out of the stone wall. They attacked everyone. Although we have many half-step supreme realm cultivators, we are no match for them. At this point, Xiao Tianxian sighed and said, "So we were all locked in this formation." Then, the exotic beast king began to use the formation to absorb everyone's vitality and blood essence to increase his strength. Bastard. So that's how it is. This should be a trap set up by the exotic beast king, using resources to bait everyone. After listening to Xiao Tianxian, Knight Sorrow realized that it was similar to his judgment. Then he continued, "Brother Xiao, where do you think those things came from? I've never heard of such a tribe in the foggy area." What he meant was to find the nest of the exotic beasts and kill them all to eliminate the threat. In my opinion, they probably came from the underground of the Night Demon territory. After all, before this, there were no traces of them in our Night Devil territory. If they were in other territories, then they would attack on the people of other territories. Xiao Tianchuan's exotic beasts. I'll do a thorough search later and try my best to kill the Beast King and its entire race. Yishang nodded and said coldly, "Night Sorrow, this is the wine I brought from my hometown. You've worked hard recently. Try it." Xiao Tianxian looked at the injuries on Night Sorrow's body and felt his heart ache. He took out a jar of wine and handed it to him. This jar of wine was brought up by him from the divine realm. It was the last jar in his hands. "Haha, thank you, Brother Xiao." When Night Sorrow heard that this jar of wine came from his hometown, he immediately understood that it was a product of the divine realm. He took it and drank it boldly. For a moment, he felt as if he had returned to the divine realm. He thought to himself, "Family, wait for me. Once I finish off the 3 supreme venerables, we'll meet again." After finishing the jar of wine, Night Sorrow began to treat the injured cultivators of the Night Demon territory again. Those who had recovered a little also began to help. It took more than a day to wake up all the cultivators who had fainted. However, those who had been sucked dry of vitality and blood essence did not wake up. "Let's bury everyone. After that, I'll bring you to find the nest of the exotic beast. I'll avenge everyone." Dozens of cultivators had died in the territory all of a sudden. Night Sorrow's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He said coldly and began to bury all the cultivators with the others. Then he put everyone into the eternal divine tower and brought them into the stone walls of the secret realm to search for the whereabouts of the exotic beast king. Although he had the sea serpent's eye, he could not see anything with his divine eye. Thus he used the tracking secret technique he had learned from the Horn clan and began to track the exotic beast king from its aura. After all, they had fought for so long just now. Night Sorrow naturally controlled the aura of the exotic beast king. Then he led everyone to follow the aura and dig underground. They dug about 30,000 miles. Night Sorrow suddenly entered a world filled with stone carvings. After arriving here, he immediately felt the strong aura of the exotic beast king, and immediately led people to chase in its direction. It actually chased here? How is this possible? The exotic beast king, who was recovering in its nest, quickly discovered Night Sorrow's arrival and was instantly terrified. That was because he sensed that Night Sorrow's aura was much stronger than his. In a panic, he summoned 50 to 60 half-step Supreme Realm exotic beasts and had them stop Night Sorrow. He was prepared to escape again. Trying to escape? It's not that easy. Today, whether it's you or your clan, you will all be destroyed. After Night Sorrow used his divine spirit to detect the exotic beast king's aura, he immediately flew in its direction. The half-step Supreme Realm exotic beasts that were blocking him were basically no match for him. If one came, he would kill one. If 2 came, he would kill a pair. Good job. Seeing Night Sorrow killing the exotic beasts one by one so bravely, Master Myriad Sword shouted happily. In the formation, they had been tortured by the exotic beast king and hated the entire exotic beast tribe to death. "Don't worry, I will kill all of them." Night Sorrow replied after hearing Master Myriad Sword's words and continued to chase after the exotic Beast King. Although the exotic Beast King had been commanding its subordinates to stop him, it could not stop Night Sorrow from chasing after it. Not long after, it was blocked by Night Sorrow at the exit of this small world. Looking at the extremely weak exotic Beast King, Night Sorrow said coldly, "Heaven's Net has long arms. Do you think you can escape after killing someone? Die." With a loud roar, he unleashed the power of ice on the Ice King. If it was at its peak, this kind of power of frost would not have any effect at all. However, now that it was used, it immediately trembled and felt incomparable fear. Chapter 34-31. Moreover, Night Sorrow's powerful aura also made the Beast King very afraid. It couldn't even think of fighting back. It only wanted to escape as soon as possible. But at this moment, its speed was obviously affected by the power of ice. It was basically impossible for it to escape now that it was blocked. At this moment, Night Sorrow sneered. "You still want to escape? Where do you think you're going?" Then he shot the Mother-Child Spear, which was a combination of the power of the Star Ruins and the power of fire, at the Beast King. This time he didn't use the Divine Essence Trapping Array, the Merit Trapping Array, and the defense spell. But the injured Beast King still couldn't avoid it. Helpless, the Beast King could only burn its bloodline to resist this move. After being hit, the Beast King's body directly exploded in the void. Countless blood essence and vital energy spewed out of its body. These were all absorbed by the Beast King from the cultivators. They didn't belong to it at all. Under the condition of being seriously injured, it could no longer control it. Spare me, my king. I'm willing to submit. I'm willing to submit to you." Under such circumstances, the Beast King immediately knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. When you tortured and killed others, you should have known that you would end up like this. Your begging is useless. He was willing to accept people like Bai Wuji, who attacked Night Sorrow and was later subdued. But Night Sorrow had no intention of accepting people like the Beast King whose hands were stained with the blood of his friends. He replied coldly and sent a voice transmission to Little Fool. "Keep it in the Eternal Divine Tower and turn it into energy. Keep it as backup." "Okay, I've been waiting for you to say that. After absorbing this quasi-level, we can definitely brew an even more terrifying attack." With that, Little Fool took the Beast King into his storage ring. After the Eternal Divine Tower absorbed the Beast King, Night Sorrow summoned everyone. He brought them, who had not completely recovered, to kill all the beasts in the small world. Then, after investigating, Night Sorrow discovered that cultivating in this small world increased his strength very quickly. Although it wasn't 10 million times faster, it was hundreds of times faster than other places in the foggy area. He immediately began to set up a formation here. After setting up the formation, Night Sorrow left some of the people from the two worlds here. He brought Xiao Tianxian, the 10,000 Swords sect, and the others back to Friends Gathering City. After returning this time, Night Sorrow didn't leave immediately. After catching up with his friends, he stayed in the city and cultivated for a few years. It took him about 200 years to perfectly fuse the Star Ruins energy and the Flame energy, and create a new unique skill, the Infinite Starfire Spear and the Starfire Mother-Child Spear. Only then did he bid farewell to his friends and set off on his journey again. However, he didn't immediately take the Eternal Divine Tower to the first and third floors. Instead, he chose to return to the Eternal Ancient Barren World to visit Wu Lingfei and Jingyun. So many years had passed, and he missed his family very much. However, the others were in the Immortal Realm, so it was inconvenient for him to visit them. He could only visit the two women. When they reached the periphery of the Eternal Ancient Barren World, Night Sorrow realized that the array he had set up was not destroyed. This meant that in all these years, no one had entered the Eternal Ancient Barren World through the entrance. He immediately calmed down. However, when they arrived at the residence of the two women, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. Because in addition to the two women, there was also a young man who was practicing his spear. The young man looked to be about 16 or 17 years old, but his cultivation was already a lower honorable. His marksmanship was quite decent as well. After probing the young man's aura, Night Sorrow determined that this was his and Wu Lingfei's child. He quickly flew down from the void and looked at the young man. "What's your name? Who are you?" Seeing Night Sorrow's arrival, the young man immediately asked in alarm. "Ha, child, I'm your father." Yi Shang smiled as he looked at his son in front of him. Through the eye of the sea serpent, he discovered that this child was much stronger than his other children. Even in terms of cultivation talent, he was much more talented than him. He lamented, "With such talent, isn't it a waste to stay here and live in seclusion?" However, thinking that his cultivation path was so difficult, it was actually a good choice to let his child enjoy a life that was not in harmony with the world. The young man in front of him heard Night Sorrow say that he was his father. He immediately sized up Night Sorrow with his dark eyes. He looked at him again and again, and felt that he really looked like the father that his mother had described. He originally wanted to ask something, but after thinking for a while, he transmitted his voice to Wu Lingfei. "Mother, someone came here. He said that he is my father. Zhifei, be careful." Hearing this, Wu Lingfei immediately became alert and flew out of the room. When she saw that the person who came was indeed Night Sorrow, an indescribable smile immediately appeared on her face. At the same time, her eyes were filled with tears. They had not seen each other for thousands of years. Now that she saw Night Sorrow suddenly appear, her feelings were indescribable. "Lingfei, it's been hard on you all these years." When Night Sorrow saw Wu Lingfei appear, his mood was very complicated. He flew over and hugged her in his arms. The two of them chatted for a while before Wu Lingfei looked at Yi Zhifei and said, "Zhifei, why haven't you paid your respects to father? The reason why we can live comfortably here is all because your father is fighting outside." "Yes." Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Yi Zhifei immediately knelt down and said, "This child pays his respects to father. I wonder if father can give this child some pointers on his spear skills." "Haha, of course," Yi Shang said with a smile. Between him and Yi Zhifei, blood was thicker than water. Although it was the first time they met after so many years, they could feel a sense of closeness from a few words. After that, Night Sorrow and Jing Yun exchanged some pleasantries, and began to give pointers to Yi Zhifei on his spear skills. Under Night Sorrow's guidance, Yi Zhifei's spear skills improved very quickly. For the next 10 years, Night Sorrow was immersed in this kind of life. However, one day, after 10 years, Yunyi suddenly transmitted a message. "Night Sorrow, something big happened in the fog area. Do you want to come back?" "Oh, what happened in the misty area?" Night Sorrow immediately responded when he received the voice transmission. "Recently, on a mountain peak in the fog area, a tree that can bear supreme fruit appeared. There are already several fruits on it. I heard that after eating these fruits, although they can't really help one become supreme paragon, they can raise one's cultivation by one level. This is a good opportunity for you," Yunyi hurriedly explained. Hearing this, Night Sorrow knew that he had to try his luck. Embarrassed, he immediately told Jingyun, Wu Lingfei and Yi Zhifei about this matter. The two girls knew that Night Sorrow couldn't miss this opportunity, so naturally, they didn't have any objections. However, Yi Zhifei clamored to leave the eternal ancient desolate world with Night Sorrow. He wanted to go out and see the world. This put Night Sorrow in a difficult position. Chapter 34-32. Because the foggy area was too chaotic, it was hard for Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei to gain a foothold. Not to mention a child like Yi Zhifei. And Night Sorrow had his own matters to attend to, so he had no time to take care of them. It was even more impossible for him to keep them in the space while he was fighting for resources. That would be risking the lives of the entire family. Thus he said, "Zhifei, the foggy area is now in complete chaos. Even a half step to the Supreme Realm Master could be killed in a second. It will be very dangerous for you and Mother to go there. Or wait for Father to eliminate the threat there before you go together. Is that all right?" At this time, without waiting for Yi Zhifei to speak, Wu Lingfei asked, "How are the others?" "Brother Xiao and Brother One are still all right. They have all advanced to half-step extreme realm. But a few days ago 70 or 80 people from the two realms died," Night Sorrow said sadly. Among the cultivators of the two realms, there weren't many who had potential, and now so many had died. AI. The dead are gone, don't be sad. But since everyone is fighting, there is no reason for us to stay here. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said with certainty, we have been hiding here, and it is very safe. But the gap between us and everyone is so big, this feeling is very uncomfortable. In fact, she had experienced countless battles. Although she felt happy to stay here with Jingyun and her son, she always felt a little awkward. It was as if the whole world was separated. After her son expressed his wish, she decided to take him to the outside world. Since you think so, I will bring you to the foggy area. But I can only leave you in the city. Is that okay? After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, Night Sorrow said guiltily. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei smiled and said, don't worry, although we are weak now, we can catch up. At worst, we will live if the city dies. Alright then. Night Sorrow looked at his son Yi Zhifei and said, when you get there, cultivate well and become strong quickly. You are more talented than your father, your aunt and your siblings. Understood, father. Zhifei will be the strongest in the future. Yi Zhifei said and looked into the distance with anticipation. Since he was born, he had only seen 3 people, Wu Lingfei, Jingyun and Night Sorrow. Speaking of which, he was a little pitiful. Good. Father believes in you. Night Sorrow said with a smile and asked, Lingfei, have you told your son about your hometown? Some, but some, I'll leave it to you. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. She stood with Jingyun and looked at Yishan. Night Sorrow smiled and said, along the way, I will tell you about some of the things that happened in my hometown. Child, remember, no matter where we are, we must remember where we came from. He couldn't forget his roots. Do you understand? Yes. Yes. Yi Zhifei made a sound of acknowledgement and asked, respected father, can you tell me about your cultivation process? Mother doesn't know about these things. Said. Night Sorrow replied and began to explain his cultivation journey along the way. While talking about these things, he also recalled the years of the past, which could be considered as giving himself a good time to relax. In this relaxed state, he suddenly felt that the power of his divine spirit seemed to have strengthened a lot. However, this kind of good time was short-lived after all. When they reached Gathering Friends City, Night Sorrow brought his wife and child to meet with Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect and others. He went to the peak of the Supreme Fruit Tree with Jielin and Baiwuji. Before they even reached the mountain peak, they had already encountered many powerful cultivators. Needless to say, these people must have locked onto the Supreme Fruit Tree. When they reached the peak of the Supreme Fruit Tree, Night Sorrow found that dozens of people had already gathered here. After observing for a while, Jielin said, the people who came are all from the various territories now. Most of them are from Lutian Academy. Oh. Most of them are from Lutian Academy. Do you know any of them? Night Sorrow did not activate his divine spirit. He chose to use the sea serpent's eye to observe everyone. A few of them are friends, but most of them are enemies. Most of them are from Nangonghe and Andrew's side. After saying that, Jielin looked around vigilantly, wary of being ambushed. Don't be too nervous. Although most of them are from Nangonghe and Andrew's side, they are definitely fighting for themselves. As long as they don't swarm up, there won't be any problems. Night Sorrow had already detected that the strongest people here were 3 quasi-extreme realm cultivators, so he still had some confidence in his heart. After all, he had already fought with the Beast King and killed it. Now, the Eternal Divine Tower had absorbed all of its energy and produced 3 quasi-supreme level attacks. Alright. Jielin replied. She looked around and found that her 3rd grade half-step quasi-extreme realm cultivation was already the lowest among the people present. At this moment, a team of 4 people suddenly flew over here. The leading female cultivator looked at Jielin with a cold expression and said, Jielin, I didn't expect you to dare to come here with your strength. Your strength isn't much higher than mine. Jielin glanced at the other party. This was the elder sister of a student from the same batch as her. That student from the same batch had wanted to use force to make her submit, but in the end, she had been killed. Because of this, she had formed a death grudge with this female cultivator in front of her. Hearing this, Humei smiled coldly and said, when the battle begins, you will understand that you shouldn't have come. After saying that, she didn't make a move and directly flew in another direction. Are they enemies? After Humei and the others flew away, Night Sorrow immediately asked. Jielin nodded and said, they are enemies. This time, I'm afraid I've implicated you. It's okay. Among the 4 of them, 2 are at the 4th grade of the half-step quasi-extreme realm, and 2 are at the 5th grade. They aren't much of a threat. Night Sorrow said indifferently and then asked, by the way, when I was in Lu Tian Academy, why didn't I hear that there were so many geniuses in the academy? Back then, weren't there only 33 Star-Lords in the middle of the academy? Many of these people are elders. Moreover, their strength has increased in the past few thousand years. You also know that in the past few thousand years, it has become much easier to increase one's strength in the fog area. Jielin explained. That makes sense. By the way, who are those 3 quasi-extreme realm cultivators? Night Sorrow pointed at the 3 strongest people present and asked. They are the 3 vice deans, the 3 genius students who have the most benefits under them. Jielin said. Just as he was about to say their names, someone inside shouted, it's ripe, the fruit is ripe. Chapter 34-33. It's ripe? The supreme supremacy fruit is ripe? Everyone's attention was attracted by the words. Some of them even went berserk without even checking the situation. They squeezed toward the supreme supremacy fruit tree. In fact, they knew that the supreme supremacy fruit would not ripen at this moment, but they wanted to use this as an excuse to rush in and occupy the advantageous terrain. Many people were displeased by this. After all, there were only 9 supreme supremacy fruits on the supreme supremacy fruit tree. Some of the cultivators who rushed in were attacked by other cultivators before they could even get close to the supreme supremacy fruit tree. A battle immediately broke out when someone attacked. Before Night Sorrow and the others could gain a foothold, they witnessed a chaotic battle in the central area with their own eyes. At this moment, Bai Wuji asked, Sir, should we take the opportunity to go in too? They were at the outermost area. If the supreme supremacy fruit ripened now, it would be difficult for the 3 of them to get anything. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow said, according to my observation, the supreme supremacy fruit will not ripen in a short time. We are not in a hurry. Let's observe for a while before we make further plans. How long until it ripens? I wonder if we can get 1 or 2 supreme supremacy fruits. Jielin looked at the supreme supremacy fruit tree and asked. The 9 supreme supremacy fruits on the tree looked crystal clear. They were no different from divine fruits in the eyes of ordinary people. Judging from the aura, it will take at least 1 or 2 months. I can't tell the exact time. However, no matter what, we must get the supreme supremacy fruit. Night Sorrow said after observing with the sea serpent's eye. If he could get the supreme supremacy fruit, his cultivation would soon reach the 4th grade of the half-step supreme supremacy realm. It would be a huge improvement. As long as he did not encounter the supreme supremacy realm, he should be able to do whatever he wanted in the foggy area. It would be a great advantage for him to snatch the eternal divine tower. Then, before Jielin and Bai Wuji could speak, he continued. I haven't finished speaking. Who are the 3 genius students? Night Sorrow was still a little wary of the 3 people in front of him. If they joined forces, he would not be a match for them at all with Jielin and Bai Wuji. As for the battle before them, they were not involved because the 3 of them did not move at all, and they were too far away. Apart from the 3 experts that Night Sorrow had mentioned, the rest of the people occupied the most advantageous positions. As the scale of the battle gradually expanded, some of the cultivators who were involved in the battle had already come to a realization. That was the battle in front of them had already escalated to the level of fighting for the advantageous positions. They had basically tacitly agreed that whoever was stronger would be able to occupy the advantageous position. At this moment, Jielin said, Look at that white-robed male cultivator. His name is Chun Xing, and he's one of the strongest cultivators in Teacher Jixian's faction. The red-robed female cultivator was called Feng Qingshuang. She was Nan Gonghe's last disciple. As for the man with the gloomy look on his face, his name is Sutton. He's Andrew's younger brother. The way I see it, the strength of the 3 of them has already surpassed that of the 3 vice deans. After observing the trio's night sorrow, he made his judgment. At least, the last time he saw Nangong, he and the others, the three of them were not as good as these people in front of him. I'm not sure about that. It's been a while since I've seen the three vice deans. He wondered if their strength had changed again. Recently, the strength of cultivators in the foggy area has been increasing rapidly. It seems to have become a common occurrence. Jielin looked at the battle in front of him and said. At this moment, the battle was getting more and more intense. Many people had already fallen in the battle. Moreover, other than the three great experts inside and Night Sorrow and the others outside, everyone else had already participated in the battle. Not a single one was left out. The female cultivator who had provoked Jielin just now had already fallen in the battle. This made Jielin quite speechless. Originally, he thought that he would fight against Humei. I think that the recent changes in the foggy area should be planned by the three Supreme Venerables. Their goal is to nurture more experts, or even Supreme Venerables, for themselves to devour and increase their strength. The Supreme Venerable fruit in front of us should be the same. Night Sorrow, who was observing the battle, transmitted his voice to Jielin. How could there be such a thing? If the three of them come out of seclusion, they would be invincible in the world. Doesn't that mean that the better the cultivation, the more dangerous it is? Are you sure about this? Jielin transmitted his voice in disbelief. Even his thoughts of quickly increasing his strength were affected. I'm basically sure. However, rapidly increasing one's strength is not only accompanied by danger. It may also mean that one can control their own fate. It can't be that as long as they are here, the foggy area will never produce a Supreme Venerable, right? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. He knew that Jielin's Dao heart would be affected after hearing this, so he immediately comforted him. However, Jielin was more tenacious than Night Sorrow had imagined. She continued, the three of them are the strongest, so they stand at the top of the food chain. If we want to break free from their control, we can only become stronger than them. Nurturing a Supreme Venerable might be their biggest mistake. Every one of them is above the 5th stage of the Supreme Venerable realm. Even if they manage to nurture a Supreme Venerable, it will be difficult for them to pose a threat. This is where the three of them are confident. However, this is indeed our chance. Night Sorrow said with certainty. If not for the three Supreme Venerables creating all kinds of opportunities in the foggy area, who knew how many years it would take for them to become Supreme Venerables? 5th stage. This is indeed a huge gap. No matter what, let's take one step at a time. If one learns the truth in the morning, one can die in the evening. Even if we become Supreme Venerables, we will be devoured immediately. Then our cultivation will not be in vain. Jielin said with some yearning. There was no cultivator who did not want to break through to the Supreme Venerable realm. That's right. However, I don't think they can do whatever they want. Night Sorrow said and did not say anything else. Instead, he observed the battle in front of him with Jielin and Baiwuji. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe almost everyone's moves. He was already very confident. Therefore, after the battle in front of them was over, and the remaining people had occupied their positions, Night Sorrow said, Jielin, Baiwuji, follow me. After saying that, he led Jielin and Baiwuji and used his movement technique to fly near the three experts. They were not closer to the Supreme Venerable fruit tree than they were, but they were also not further away. Who are these three people? How dare they challenge the three of them? Aren't they courting death? Seeing Night Sorrow bring people to where Chen Xing and the others were, everyone was puzzled. If Night Sorrow and the others had stayed near them just now, these people would have definitely attacked. However, they felt that flying to the territory of the three experts was not something they should be concerned about. Chapter 34-34. Who are you? Is this a place where you can come? Seeing Night Sorrow bring Jielin and Baiwuji closer, Feng Qingfeng's cold expression changed. Nangong He's disciple, the red-robed female cultivator Feng Qingshuang, immediately scolded with a frosty expression. The coldness she exuded caused some of the cultivators who had just fought to feel a chill in their hearts. They who were originally standing still, immediately retreated a little, afraid of being implicated. What a powerful aura. What does it have to do with you who I am? Everyone is here to fight for opportunities. If you can come here, why can't I? Knight Sorrow looked at Feng Qingshuang coldly. To him, Nan Gonghe was an enemy, and her disciple was no exception. What big words! I.e., cripple his cultivation for me. A mere third-grade half-step Supreme Realm dares to bark in front of me? Feng Qingshuang said disdainfully, and ordered a fifth-grade half-step Supreme Realm female cultivator beside her to attack Knight Sorrow. Yes, senior sister. Hearing this, the female cultivator named Ai immediately took a step forward, preparing to attack Knight Sorrow. At this moment, Bai Wuji blocked her with a cold smile and said, "You're not worthy of Milord making a move. Get lost." Ai saw Bai Wuji blocking in front of her and shouted angrily. Then she waved her sword and stabbed at his position. She was very irritable. The people in the distance couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. As for Bai Wuji, he didn't take it seriously. In fact, he was similar to Feng Qingshuang. They were both geniuses that Nan Gonghe and Andrew had nurtured. It was obvious that Ai couldn't compare to him. It was just that he was nurtured later than Feng Qingshuang, so his cultivation was lagging behind. Moreover, both sides were under the control of Nan Gonghe and Andrew, so they didn't have much contact with each other. Therefore, Feng Qingshuang didn't recognize Bai Wuji at all. But after Bai Wuji and Ai started fighting, he quickly showed the value of being trained. Although his cultivation was a small level lower, he didn't fall into a disadvantage at all. He even vaguely suppressed Ai. This caused Feng Qingshuang's expression to become extremely ugly. She snorted coldly. "Trash, let me do it." After saying that, he violently attacked Bai Wuji. "Step back." Seeing that Feng Qingshuang was about to attack, Knight Sorrow shouted, and told Bai Wuji to retreat. Then he sent out a palm strike. Boom. Feng Qingshuang's claw struck out. Boom. Feng Qingshuang, who hadn't even used her full strength, was sent flying. How is this possible? Isn't this too amazing? Feng Qingshuang's face was originally frosty. She looked extremely unruly, as if she was impatient to attack. However, he was actually sent flying in an instant. This immediately caused the people who were rushing over to exclaim in surprise. They had never expected that Knight Sorrow, a third-grade half-step Supreme Realm cultivator, would be able to send Feng Qingshuang flying. Feng Qingshuang's face darkened as she unleashed an even greater amount of frost energy. He coldly shouted at Knight Sorrow, "No matter who you are, you will die here today." Then he released the power of ice and attacked Knight Sorrow with an ultimate technique, Frost Killer Sword. With this move, Feng Qingshuang's primordial qi immediately condensed into 3 ice swords in the void. They shot towards Knight Sorrow with earth-shattering might. "You're good at frost energy?" Facing Feng Qingshuang's ultimate technique, Knight Sorrow smiled. Then he suddenly used the essence of the flame core. He used Inferno Demon Subduing. As soon as the Raging Flames Demon Subduing technique was unleashed, flames filled the sky. These flames came from the core of the flame, and were obviously not comparable to ordinary flames. After it appeared, it directly melted the 3 ice swords that Feng Qingshuang had shot out. "What? You actually have such a powerful flame?" Yi Shuang had casually neutralized the consummate technique that he had executed. Feng Qingshuang's face darkened. Although she hadn't used her strongest attack just now, she had used at least 70% of her strength. She had thought that Knight Sorrow would be killed instantly. She didn't expect to embarrass herself again. "Isn't it normal to have this kind of flame? I'll give you a chance to withdraw from the fight for the Supreme Fruit. Otherwise, I'll kill you today." Knight Sorrow saw Feng Qingshuang's surprise and said disdainfully. He secretly activated the Treastrimsa Star Ruin's secret art and destruction mystique, adjusting his condition to a stronger level. He was ready to accept Feng Qingshuang's challenge. Through the battle, he judged that Feng Qingshuang's true strength was inferior to that mutated Beast King. With such strength, she had no chance of winning against him. "You should die." Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Feng Qingshuang was thoroughly enraged. With a roar, she ignited her frost bloodline. She raised her aura to the strongest. Then, she took out a long sword that emitted a cold light from the void. Once again, she attacked Knight Sorrow with an ultimate technique, Ice Frost Sword. This attack wasn't as beautiful as the Frost Killer Sword, but it was clearly much stronger. Starfire Motherchild Spear. Facing this attack, Night Sorrow suddenly attacked with the Starfire Motherchild Spear, clashing head-on with the Frost Killer Sword. He didn't even use the Trap Array, or the 100 Words mantra. Thousand Emperor Cauldron suppress. At that moment, Feng Qingshuang summoned a cauldron in the process of her attack. It pressed down on Night Sorrow from the void. In an instant, Night Sorrow felt his body sink, as if he was about to fall from the void. Interesting. Night Sorrow, who was prepared to fight head-on, instantly ignited his Phoenix and Scale bloodlines. He increased his strength and stabilized himself in the void. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Little Fool. Attack her. Okay. Little Fool nodded. At that moment, he attacked Feng Qingshuang with his Beast King form. With a buzz, it lit up the entire world. This kind of attack gave people the feeling that it was as if a supreme being had attacked. It was quite terrifying. The surrounding spectators all retreated tens of thousands of miles. Feng Qingshuang was surprised. There's such a powerful secret treasure? After thinking for a moment, she controlled the Thousand Emperor Cauldron to block the attack from the Eternal Divine Tower. Then, she waved her sword and clashed with Night Sorrow. Boom. Boom. After the two explosions, the outcome of the battle between Yi Shang and Feng Qingshuang was decided in an instant. The Thousand Emperor Cauldron was shattered by the Eternal Divine Tower's full-force attack. Feng Qingshuang was severely injured by Night Sorrow's attack. At the same time that she was injured, her face fell into the trench. She was not in the mood to stay. She used a forbidden technique to escape, not even caring about Ai. At this moment, Jinghai, who had been thrown into the Eternal Divine Tower by Night Sorrow, suddenly transmitted his voice. Lord Night Demon, can you leave Ai behind so that we can meet? We're old friends. Oh, why should I let you meet? Hearing Jinghai's words, Night Sorrow immediately said coldly. Chapter 34-35. 1 Second to Remember Love, on /u reading /book. It's a wonderful free read. Lord Night Demon, if you agree to my request, I swear I'll serve you forever. Jinghai said again after some thought. He was afraid that if he did not say that, Night Sorrow would kill Ai in one hit. In fact, although he had an unclear relationship with Nan Gongha, he and Ai were a couple. The two of them had been childhood sweethearts until today. However, no one, including Nan Gongha, knew. Oh, you're quite considerate. How about this? If you can persuade her and the two of you serve me, I'll let her go. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice after hearing Jinghai's words. Jinghai had been kept in the Eternal Divine Tower, so he was not afraid of him playing any tricks. Jinghai immediately thanked him. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'll transmit my voice to her now. All right. Night Sorrow replied and got Xiao, or to remove the Eternal Divine Tower's speed for Jinghai. Jinghai and Ai communicated. Soon Ai was persuaded. She bowed slightly to Night Sorrow and said, Ai greets Lord Night Demon. Enter the Eternal Divine Tower. Yi Shang nodded slightly and then took Ai in. He had subdued her without shedding a drop of blood. Therefore, the battle between Night Sorrow and Feng Qingshuang ended with Feng Qingshuang escaping and Ai subduing. Everyone present was surprised by this result. Many people began to ask about Night Sorrow's identity. However, whether it was in Lutian Academy or the Fog, he had only appeared a few times. Most of the experts present had never met him before, so they naturally did not know him. Therefore, those who knew Jielin began to ask about Night Sorrow's name through voice transmissions. When Jielin said Night Demon's name, the name that Night Sorrow had casually given him spread through the circle of experts in the Fog. At this moment, one of the three experts, the white-robed man, Xiao Chenxing, clapped his hands and said, Brother, you're really strong. How should I address you? Night Demon. Night Sorrow said casually out of courtesy. Su Sun, who was standing at the side, said, Since you chased Feng Qingshuang away, the 3 pills that belong to her belong to you. At that time, the 3 of us will each get 3 supreme venerable fruits. Do you have any objections? Oh, if each of us gets 3, won't the others have any objections? Hearing this, Yi Shang asked in reply. If they dared to have an opinion, they would have stood up like you. Su Sun said disdainfully. At this time, Chunxing also said. If the three of us work together, they definitely won't dare to have any objections. That's why I still need your permission. As for what they wanted, they would have to pay the price in exchange. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Highness fruits are useless to Su Sun and me. They were originally going to be sold. Alright, it's decided then. The Supreme Supremacy fruit was extremely important to Night Sorrow, so it was very worthwhile to be able to obtain 3 of them so easily. He thought for a moment, and felt that there was no reason to refuse, so he agreed. After the 3 of them had finished discussing, they waited here with peace of mind. As for the other cultivators who were waiting, they didn't dare to step forward. Feng Qingshuang, who had escaped, had never returned. This was the same as Ai's judgment. Ai, who had already sworn to submit to Night Sorrow with Jinghai, knew everything about Feng Qingshuang. She knew that other than Nangong and Andrew, she wouldn't be able to find any strong backup. She wouldn't rush over to attack Night Sorrow again. It's almost ripe. This time, it's really almost ripe. After waiting for about a month, the Supreme Venerable fruit suddenly emitted a fragrance. This smell made people feel comfortable all over. Everyone knew that this was the sign that the Supreme Venerable fruit was about to mature. Everyone was eager to give it a try. Get ready. I want the top 3 later. At this time, the white-robed man looked at the 3 Supreme Venerable fruits at the top of the Supreme Tree. A moment later, Su Sun sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. I want the 3 in the middle. You don't have any objections, right? These things all have the same effect. Okay. Night Sorrow replied and asked, if they come to snatch it, shall we attack together? Yes. Those who dare to snatch it will be killed without mercy. Su Sun replied domineeringly. Then his gaze was completely locked onto the fruit he had chosen. Night Sorrow used his divine sense to check, and found that the 2 of them had indeed locked onto the other 6 Supreme Venerable fruits. He also locked onto the 3 fruits that they had agreed on. When the fruits ripened, he would immediately take action. Soon. Get ready to attack. Everyone waited for about 20 breaths. The fragrance of the Supreme Venerable fruit completely bloomed. This was a sign that the fruit had ripened. Immediately, Su Sun and Su Sun flew toward the Supreme Venerable fruit tree, and plucked a fruit. At this time, Night Sorrow tried to pluck the Supreme Venerable fruit, and found that it required a lot of energy. After plucking one, he immediately activated the 33 Heavenly Star Ruins secret combat technique and destruction divine ability. After increasing his strength, he took the 2 fruits that they had agreed on. Night Demon. You're so greedy. We originally agreed that each of us would take 1, and leave the rest to the others. Why did you take 3 for yourself? At this moment Su Sun, who only had 1 Supreme Venerable fruit in his hand, suddenly looked at Night Sorrow angrily. You really don't care about the rules and act on your own. Everyone attack together and kill him. After Su Sun finished speaking, Chunxing also spoke. After they spoke, everyone in the distance immediately flew toward the Supreme Venerable fruit tree. They were all prepared to attack Night Sorrow. At this time, no matter how stupid Night Sorrow was, he realized that he had been tricked by the 2 of them. He immediately said coldly, you guys are really scheming. Since that's the case, let's go all out. Both of them were quasi-supreme realm. It was very difficult to use the power of merit to see through their words. He couldn't tell that they were lying just now. Seeing the situation now, he knew that he couldn't defend himself. He would definitely be attacked by everyone. He immediately swallowed a Supreme Venerable fruit, and then burned all of his bloodline to attack the Supreme Venerable fruit tree. He uprooted the Supreme Venerable fruit tree, and put it into his space grotto heaven. After Chunxing and Su Sun had framed Night Sorrow, they had retreated a distance and kept their distance. Therefore, they didn't have the chance to stop Night Sorrow. They only reacted after he put away the Supreme Venerable fruit tree. The 2 of them flew into a rage at the same time, and each attacked Night Sorrow. What's the point of using probing attacks at a time like this? If you want to fight, just kill. Facing Chunxing and Su Sun's attacks, Night Sorrow roared and attacked them with the power of ice and fire respectively. Then he directly shot into the sky and flew above the void. The Supreme Venerable fruit tree has been uprooted by the Night Demon. Everyone attack together and kill him. Seeing Night Sorrow fly into the sky, everyone roared and attacked him. Chapter 34-36. Oh my God! Lord Night Demon, you have poked a hornet's nest. Bai Wuji, who had already been stored in Night Sorrow's grotto heaven, cried out in alarm. Night Sorrow had snatched the Supreme Supremacy Fruit Tree away. He was simply courting death. In fact, Night Sorrow had already fallen into their trap. Even if he hadn't taken the Supreme Supremacy Fruit Tree, he still wouldn't have been able to escape the encirclement. However, a few Supreme Supremacy Fruits might have attracted the attention of some people. If you don't do this, you will die even more miserably. Come, Jialin, Bai Wuji, Jinghai. Each of you consume a Supreme Supremacy Fruit, and see if you can break through quickly. Night Sorrow transmitted his words and gave each of them a Supreme Supremacy Fruit. He hoped that each of them would be able to break through during this crisis. As for Ai, who was a half-step to the Supreme Supremacy Grade 5, there was no need for her to consume this fruit. This Supreme Supremacy Fruit is good stuff, but I really don't know what to say about consuming it under these circumstances. Jinghai said helplessly after consuming a Supreme Supremacy Fruit. Anyone who wasn't a fool could tell that they would very likely be beaten to death by the encirclement. Jialin said worriedly, "Let us out and we will fight with you. The more people we have, the more power we will have." "Not for now. I already thought of a countermeasure when I snatched the Supreme Supremacy Fruit Tree." Night Sorrow replied before consuming 2 more Supreme Supremacy Fruits. He felt that consuming one wouldn't have any effect at all. Then, as he was surrounded, he threw the 2 Supreme Supremacy Fruits at the crowd chasing after him. Supreme Supremacy Fruits? 2 of them? Although the crowd still wanted to kill Night Sorrow when they saw the Supreme Supremacy Fruit appear, they still made a move on the fruit. After all, the Supreme Supremacy Fruit was just a short distance away from them. There was no reason for them not to fight over it. For a moment, the scene was a mess. There were still people attacking Night Sorrow, but their numbers had decreased significantly. Chun Xing and Su Sun, who didn't care much about the Supreme Supremacy Fruit, quickly chased after Night Sorrow after neutralizing his 2 attacks. Look, this is the benefit of having more fruits. If he obtained the Supreme Venerable Fruit Tree, he would be able to easily shake them off. As for Chun Xing and Su Sun, if it was 1 against 2, I wouldn't be afraid. Just help me deal with their subordinates. Night Sorrow, who was attacked by many people, was hit at least 10 times when he was running away. His injuries were not light, but he knew that it would not take long for him to recover completely. Therefore, after pulling a certain distance, he began to run with Chun Xing and Su Sun, who wanted to kill him. Not long after, they shook off some of the cultivators behind them. When only Chun Xing and Su Sun were left, Night Sorrow slowed down slightly. He took them and flew into the distance. To him, being besieged by dozens of 4th and 5th stage half-step Supreme Realm cultivators was still very terrifying. But facing Chun Xing and Su Sun alone was not scary at all. On top of that, while he was running, he had already sensed the mysteries of the Supreme Supremacy Fruit. At this moment, the Supreme Supremacy Fruit had already played a significant role in his body, making him feel that he was getting closer and closer to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm. He should be able to successfully advance soon. He thought to himself, as long as I advance to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm, even if the cultivators behind me catch up, what can they do? However, Chun Xing and Su Sun did not think about that at all, and continued to chase. They felt that killing a genius like Night Sorrow was definitely more useful than obtaining the Supreme Supremacy Fruit, so they waited for Feng Qingshuang to be defeated. The 2 of them discussed a strategy to deal with Night Sorrow. Finally, 2 days later, Night Sorrow advanced to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm ahead of Jialin, Bai Wuji and Jinghai. When the lightning tribulation of the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm floated over from the void, Night Sorrow stopped in the air. While he was undergoing the tribulation, he waited for Chun Xing and Su Sun to arrive. When Chun Xing and Su Sun arrived, Night Sorrow's lightning tribulation was nearing its end. He sneered at the 2 of them and said, "You 2 are not bad at scheming, but you lack absolute strength. Shameless boasting. Do you think you're invincible after defeating Feng Qingshuang? Let me tell you, we're much stronger than her." The white-robed man, Chen Xing, scolded Knight Sorrow coldly. At the same time he transmitted his voice to Su Sun. Summon the others. We'll attack him together. After killing him, we'll split the items. We'll do as you say. Su Sun replied and summoned 3 cultivators who were at the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Realm, plus the 2 summoned by Chen Xing. On their side, there were 2 quasi-Supreme Realm cultivators and 5 half-step Supreme Realm cultivators. At this moment, Jia Lin said, "Let us go out and fight." Bai Wuji echoed, "That's right, my lord. Let us share your burdens." Haha, they're not much of a burden at all. But since you want to fight, come out. It'll be good for the upcoming lightning tribulation. Knight Sorrow had already sensed that Jia Lin, Jing Hai, and Bai Wuji were about to advance, so he immediately summoned them and Ai. After being summoned, they started fighting with Chen Xing and Su Sun's subordinates. However, they were clearly weaker than their opponents, so they quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. At this moment, Knight Sorrow, who had completely passed the lightning tribulation, was fighting against Chen Xing and Su Sun after receiving the Heavenly Dao's baptism. He took the time to kill one of their subordinates, so that Jia Lin, Jing Hai, Bai Wuji, and Ai could fight 4 against 4. Although the 4 of them were still struggling, they could barely hold on. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow could fight with Chen Xing and Su Sun in peace. Before advancing, his strength was basically on the same level as the 2 of them. After advancing to the 4th stage of the half-step to the Supreme Realm, his strength had increased tremendously, completely surpassing the 2's understanding. Before he could attack, Chen Xing and Su Sun were already unable to hold on. By the time they realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. They didn't even have a chance to escape. Yi Shang had blasted it apart. He didn't show any mercy to the 2 of them who had ulterior motives. After killing them, Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little Fool. Absorb them and turn them into energy. As for their divine weapons, leave them to me. Okay. Little Fool responded and absorbed Chen Xing and Su Sun according to Knight Sorrow's instructions. Knight Sorrow began using their divine weapons and secret treasures to strengthen the Golden Heavenly Halberd, Desolation Halberd, and Green Phoenix armor. They were all strengthened to half-step Supreme Realm level. Little Fool said excitedly, "Knight Sorrow, since your strength has increased so much, why don't we take back the 1st and 3rd levels?" "Okay. We'll do as you say," Knight Sorrow said confidently. He had a feeling that he could defeat anyone in this world except for the Supreme Realm. Chapter 34-37. This feeling was not arrogance. Knight Sorrow felt that even if his current attack was not at the level of the Supreme Realm, it would not be too far off. The energy in his body was completely different from when he was at the 3rd stage of the half-step Supreme Realm. Moreover, his body already had an aura that was close to that of the Supreme Realm. It was not the state where the Supreme Realm surpassed the Supreme Realm. While flying towards the 4 major cities in the foggy area, Jia Lin sighed. "If I didn't know your cultivation base, I would have thought that you were already a Supreme Realm expert." "Haha, it's still early. Although I have the aura and feeling of the Supreme Realm now, there's no chance of winning against a true Supreme Realm expert. The difference between advancing to the Supreme Realm and not advancing to the Supreme Realm is too great," Knight Sorrow said humbly. Now he had completely focused on dealing with the 3 Supreme Venerables. He knew that the 3 Supreme Venerables were about to come out of seclusion, and everyone's final opponents were the 3 of them. On the way to the 4 major cities in the foggy area, Knight Sorrow had been thinking about a problem. That was, if his strength was already outstanding, would it be necessary to purify all the people in the foggy area? Hide everyone so that no one could devour them after the 3 Supreme Venerables came out of seclusion. Where should I hide everyone? If I hide in some expert's body, all my previous efforts will be wasted if I lose. If I hide somewhere else, I won't be able to stop the 3 Supreme Venerables. It seems that I can only start the battle immediately after they come out of seclusion. If that's the case, then there's no need for Senior Yan Hengshi to continue hiding. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow immediately changed his route and went to the Lu Tian Academy to find Yan Hengshi. He told him his idea. It was this trip that allowed him to reassemble his body. Although there was still some time, it was definitely the eve of the final battle. The final battle could erupt at any time. There was no time for him to recover bit by bit. We can do as you say. However, our strength is obviously lower than the 3 supreme venerables, and Yen Hengshi did not appear. There's almost no chance of winning against the 3 of them. Yen Hengshi pondered for a while and said. His original plan was to secretly recover his strength in the Lu Tian Academy. After his strength had completely recovered, he would choose to fight again. After all, he was the strongest of the supreme paragons back then. Night Sorrow frowned and said, but if the 3 supreme paragons devour all living beings, their strength will definitely increase. Moreover, if everyone dies in battle, even if you kill them all, it will be meaningless. Right now, he was completely sure of the ambitions of the 3 supreme venerables. He knew what they would do after coming out of seclusion. Yen Hengshi was not allowed to hide anymore. You're right. I choose to fight alongside you. But for the time being, I can only stay by your side and not attack directly. If I attack outside the endless sea of stars, they will sense it, and the 3 of them will come out immediately. Yen Hengshi explained and continued. So I will hide in your coffin and follow you. All right. This was the only way now. Senior, you've suffered. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he put Yen Hengshi's coffin into the space. At this moment, he suddenly remembered the function of his coffin, which was to completely conceal one's aura. He thought to himself, if I use this coffin to take everyone in, it should have a very good effect of isolating their aura. Before the 3 supreme paragons come out of seclusion, it's best to put everyone I can find into the coffin, and let them come out empty-handed. At this moment, he remembered another ancient coffin and the embryonic form of the starry sky. He immediately released his divine soul to investigate. After such an investigation, Night Sorrow was secretly surprised. It turned out that this embryonic form of the starry sky was forming a world. This world was still in the process of being nurtured, and was taking shape little by little. He thought to himself, if this world can be completely formed, I may be able to purify everyone and put them into this world. Then, I will put them into the coffin together with this world. At that time, even if Senior Yen Hengshi, Senior Yen, and I all die in battle, the remaining people should have a chance to continue to survive. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to Yen Hengshi. Senior, you said that I will put everyone into the coffin and take everyone to hide. Will the 3 supreme paragons not be able to find us? Then we will have time to continue to improve our strength? Your idea is not bad. With the coffin, it is indeed possible. But if the 3 supreme paragons cannot find us, they will definitely destroy this world. There is nowhere for us to hide. You've underestimated those 3 fellows. Yen Hengshi made his own judgment. He knew that although Supremacy Limitless and Supremacy Dan were easy to deal with, Supremacy Annihilation was definitely the craziest one. He could do anything. It was not easy for them to hide. The best choice was to hide everyone and send people to fight the 3 supreme paragons at the same time. That way, they might be able to avoid the impact of the battle. And in this way, they had to win the battle to give everyone a chance to continue living. If they lost, the 3 supreme paragons would dig everyone out no matter what. I understand, Senior. Hearing Yen Hengshi's words, Night Sorrow completely sorted out his thoughts. He knew that their only chance was to defeat the 3 supreme paragons. Then Night Sorrow brought Yen Hengshi's ancient coffin, Jielin by Wuji Jinghai, and Ai to the 3rd divine city in the foggy area. The 3rd floor of the Eternal Divine Tower was in this city. Standing far away from the city, Little Fool could already sense the aura of the 3rd floor. He said excitedly, "It's in there. I can already sense the aura of the 3rd floor." Little Five also echoed, "Yes. I can even sense that he's in the city and hasn't been sucked into any space." "Good. Since you can sense it, let's enter the city and find a chance to attack." After receiving confirmation, Night Sorrow immediately prepared to lead everyone into the 3rd city and take back the 3rd floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, as well as Yen Hengshi's skeleton. But at this moment, Jinghai, who had already chosen to submit, reminded him, "Lord Night Devil, although you are very strong, I suggest that we don't fight in this city. Oh, is there an expert or a formation in this city that we can't fight against? Hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at Jinghai. Jinghai thought for a moment and said, I heard from Nangonghe that this city was set up by a supreme paragon. There is a supreme paragon level formation. If we fight head-on, we will definitely encounter an extremely fierce attack. It's the same for the first city. Why don't we find Nangonghe and Suze first and take them down? Everything will be much easier. Chapter 34-38. Yes, that made sense. However, in this chaotic world, he didn't know where the two of them would be. After listening to Jinghai, Night Sorrow actually felt a little disgusted by his treachery. However, doing this was definitely beneficial to them, so he naturally wouldn't object. According to my estimation, they might not stay in the academy. After all, the formations of the first and third city were controlled by them. They were safer than anyone else when they were in the center. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jinghai continued. At this moment, Ai said with certainty, I'm not sure about Andrew, but Nangonghe is definitely in the third city. Before Feng Qingshuang and I came out, we visited her in the third city. Nangonghe is still very difficult to deal with in the third city. Jinghai, do you have a way to lure her out of the city? After confirming that Nangonghe was very likely to be in the third city, Night Sorrow immediately said, It should be very difficult to lure her out, but I can bring everyone to see her. We can launch a sudden attack and control her. In this way, what we want will be within our reach. After saying that, he felt that he was being too heartless. After thinking for a while, he continued, In fact, I hate Nangonghe very much. I won't explain the specific reason to you. Alright. Let's enter the Eternal Divine Tower. Bring the Eternal Divine Tower with you. After Jinghai finished speaking, Night Sorrow said in a deep voice. Then, he entered the Eternal Divine Tower without hesitation. To them, time was the most precious thing. They couldn't waste it at all. Night Sorrow felt that no matter what, he had to advance to the Supreme Realm before the three Supreme Realm experts reappeared. This way he could join forces with Yan Hengshi and Yan Jizun, and find the new Liken Jizun. Perhaps they would have a chance of winning. Otherwise, the chance of winning was too slim. The three Supreme Realm experts would definitely surpass the 5th grade of the Supreme Realm. They were like mountains pressing down on his heart. Everyone, don't worry. I have a grudge against Nangonghe. I was just pretending to be polite in front of her. I definitely won't betray her. After tying the Eternal Divine Tower to his waist, Jinghai promised and walked into the third city step by step. Following Ai's instructions, he went to Nangonghe's residence. Not long after, he arrived outside the palace where Nangonghe lived. He transmitted his voice to Nangonghe, telling her a secret code that only the two of them knew. Not long after, Jinghai transmitted his voice to the people in the Eternal Divine Tower. She responded. She asked me to go to her bedroom. Tell him I'll be right there. After Night Sorrow got Pure Sea to reply, he observed Nangonghe's sleeping quarters from within the Eternal Divine Tower. He discovered that there were indeed runes that he could not see through, and he determined that they were paramount runes. So he said, We must find a good opportunity to attack later. Don't give her a chance to open the array. Don't worry, I have a way to deal with her. Jinghai said confidently. As he replied to Nangonghe, he slowly walked into her palace. After entering, Jinghai realized that there were no outsiders in the palace. He smiled. He transmitted his voice. As I expected, she put away all her subordinates. At this moment, Ai reminded him, Don't give the game away. When she said this, there was a trace of anger on her face. Obviously, she knew about the affair between Jinghai and Nangonghe, and she was very jealous. Don't worry, I won't make any mistakes today. I will kill Nangonghe. Jinghai, who knew what Ai was thinking, suddenly made a promise as he walked in. He did not want the harem to be on fire. But just as he finished speaking, Nangonghe's figure appeared in front of everyone. Seeing Jinghai's return, Nangonghe smiled and said, Come in. With that, she turned and walked into the pavilion that had been set up with an array to isolate everyone from probing. After entering the pavilion, Nangonghe's expression became much more charming. Where have you been all this time? I thought you had died with Bai Wuji and Morong Xiao. We followed your instructions and followed the night demon to the Sea of Sunday. We fought with him but were not his match. But at the critical moment, I gave up on the two of them and escaped. But when I returned to the Lu Tian Academy, I did not find you. Jing Hai heard Nangonghi's words and judged that Morong Xiao had not returned after escaping, so he lied. In fact, even if Nangonghi did not say this, Jing Hai could judge that Morong Xiao had not returned. After all, his relationship with Nangonghi was tacitly understood by Morong Xiao and by Wuji. If he died and Morong Xiao returned alone, she would definitely be punished by Nangonghi. Therefore, she would not return no matter what. It's good that you are back. Recently, the fog area has not been peaceful. You can stay here with me. As for the night demon, I will find a chance to kill him personally. Nangonghi said and went to untie Jing Hai's belt. At this time Jing Hai said coldly, I'm afraid you will never have the chance to kill the night demon. What did you say? After Jing Hai said this, Nangonghi immediately became vigilant. However, it was already too late for her to realize what was going on. At this time, Night Sorrow and the others had already come out of the Eternal Divine Tower. And Bai Wuji had already used the Boundless Heaven-Shaking Bell. Nangonghi was immediately paralyzed by the Boundless Heaven-Shaking Bell's attack. She had lost her soul because of the secret treasure she had given Jing Hai. She was quite miserable. Then, Ai took out her sword and slashed Nangonghi's dantian, directly crippling her. She was quite fierce and did not give Nangonghi any chance to react. By the time she recovered, she had completely lost the ability to resist. Seeing Jing Hai, Bai Wuji, and Ai all submit to Night Sorrow, Nangonghi was so angry that she spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. She glared at them for a long time before looking at Jing Hai and saying, Jing Hai, in the end I did not suspect you. You are really good. At this time Jing Hai said coldly, Don't talk nonsense. If you want to live, you have to help us close the Supreme Formation in the city. Ha. Do you think I am still afraid of death when I am already like this? Hearing Jing Hai's words, Nangonghi smiled coldly and roared. But I will take you with me even if I die. After roaring, she released her soul and used all her strength to kill Jing Hai. Nangonghi died on the spot, and Jing Hai did not survive. Ai looked at them with a gloomy expression for a while, then sighed and did not say a word from beginning to end. At this time, Little Fool suddenly said, If you want to control the formation left behind by the Supreme Master, it is impossible without the Supreme Master's token. Hurry up and search him. Chapter 34-39. They opened the outer array and rushed into the sacred ground. Who goes there? How dare you barge into my ultimate supremacy sacred ground? As soon as the four of them entered the sacred ground, a cold and angry voice came from inside. Follow me and kill. Feeling the powerful auras around them, Jielin knew that he had to help Night Sorrow attract their attention. With a roar, he led Bai Wuji and Ai into battle with the first group of cultivators who had arrived. Among the first batch of cultivators, there were 2 5th-grade half-step to the Supreme Realm, 5 ordinary half-step to the Supreme Realm, and a few heavenly sovereigns. After they rushed over, Jielin and the others discussed with each other and fought with them. Because both sides were about the same level of strength, they were soon in a stalemate. At this time, Night Sorrow took the opportunity to come to the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower to purify it. However, at that moment, the statue of Venerate Extreme Destruction suddenly shouted, How dare you, kid? Although Supremacy Mia's statue did not move, the words it uttered were a very powerful spiritual attack. After the attack, it was as if all the water in the world was poured into Night Sorrow's ears, making him feel very uncomfortable. It's just a statue. What are you so arrogant for? At this time, Night Sorrow directly activated all his skills and raised his strength to the peak. As he roared, he completely dispelled the statue's spiritual attack. Then, he forcefully purified the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, he was met with strong resistance from the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. The strength displayed by the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower was comparable to that of the other 8 levels combined. It was still very difficult to deal with. The two sides were in a stalemate for about 20 breaths, and Night Sorrow did not succeed in subduing it. At this time, the second batch of experts from the sacred ground arrived. Among these experts, some continued to rush toward Jialin and the others, while some charged toward Night Sorrow. Seeing that Jialin and the others were about to be unable to hold on, Yi Shang roared loudly, "I'll help all of you." He temporarily gave up on fighting on the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower and charged toward Jialin and the others, attacking the experts from the sacred ground. At this moment, he was basically the strongest person below the Lamita realm. Under his attacks, the two groups of people from the Holy Land who had rushed over to help were quickly killed. However, at this moment, Nieji's statue suddenly stood up and attacked Night Sorrow. The first level of the Eternal Divine Tower also cooperated with its attack. At this time, Night Sorrow pulled away from Jialin and the others and said, "Little fool, you fight against the first floor first. We will deal with Venerable Mia's statue." "Good. He's only at the first level. No matter how powerful he is, he shouldn't be able to crush us," Little Fool replied and entered a stalemate with the first floor. Yi Shan, on the other hand, led Jialin and the others in attacking Supremacy Mia's statue. However, the defensive power of the sovereign statue was quite astonishing. When they attacked it, they couldn't break its defense at all. Chapter 3440. Forget it. Everyone, enter my space and let this statue come at me. After attacking the statue for a while, Night Sorrow found that it didn't have much effect. He immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone. Then he kept Jialin, Bai Wuji and Ai into his space. Then he resisted the attacks of the statue and attacked the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower again. Although there was only one level of the Eternal Divine Tower, it was very difficult to deal with. With Night Sorrow's power of virtue, forcefully using it was not very effective. With the interference of the statue, he really couldn't do anything to it for a while. If this drags on, Andrew might activate the Supreme Formation. Little fool, use your strongest attack. I will do the same. Let's take it down first. After the two sides were in a stalemate for a while, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Little Fool. He wanted him to use the quasi-supreme attack that the Eternal Divine Tower had already prepared. He didn't care if he would damage the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower, and suddenly increased his strength to the maximum. He shot out the Starfire Motherchild Spear. The power of the Star Ruins and the power of the Flames blasted towards the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower at the same time. At the same time, he also used the Divine Essence Trapping Array, the Merit Trapping Array, and the Defense Technique. Sigh. He had no choice but to use his trump card. This feeling is really uncomfortable. It's as if I'm attacking myself. Little Fool, who also had no choice, sighed and cooperated with Night Sorrow to launch a fierce attack on the first level. Facing the strongest attack of Night Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower's main body, there was nothing he could do about the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. But at this moment, the statue of extreme destruction teleported in front of him just as he was about to be hit. It helped the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower block the attacks of Night Sorrow and Little Fool. Not only did the statue of Supremacy Mia not shatter after blocking the two attacks, it even revealed a faint smile. Not good. Yi Shang frowned when his attack was blocked by the statue of extreme annihilation. However, he didn't stop attacking. He and the main body of the Eternal Divine Tower once again attacked the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, their attacks were unable to pose any threat to the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, due to the interference of the statue. On the contrary. Furthermore, he was continuously attacked. For a moment he was in great danger. At this time, Little Fool transmitted his voice. Night Sorrow, this is not the way to go. I'm afraid we'll end up being left here. There is indeed such a possibility, but if we can't take it down this time, we won't have another chance in the future. Night Sorrow, who was locked in a stalemate with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower and Exalt Mia's statue, continued to think of a countermeasure. But he couldn't think of any solution at all. The only reason was that the statue of supremacy Mia was too difficult to deal with. His defense was definitely at the level of a limiter. Insolent night demon. How dare you cause trouble in the first city? Take him down. At this moment, the alarmed Andrew had already brought his people to the Holy Land. When he saw that it was Night Sorrow, he immediately ordered. He ordered his subordinates to attack Night Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower together with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, and the statue of Exalt Annihilation. As for himself, he used the ring in his hand to completely activate the array formation of the Supreme Realm. When the array formation was activated, Andrew also joined the battle to kill Night Sorrow. After such a battle, Night Sorrow discovered that although Andrew's cultivation was at the quasi-supreme realm, the strength of his attacks was not inferior to that of a limiter. He was very powerful. Compared to him, he was only slightly weaker. With this kind of strength, if it was a one-on-one battle with him, he would definitely be killed. However, with the help of the statue and the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, as well as the cooperation of the others, the battle was still very sharp. Very soon, Night Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower were suppressed. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Eternal Divine Tower. I'm afraid our operation today has failed. Let's find an opportunity to leave. There's no need to leave. We have a way to successfully fuse with the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, Little Fool suddenly said confidently. Hearing this, Night Sorrow asked in confusion, if there's such a method, why didn't you use it just now? Because after using this method to fuse with the Eternal Divine Tower, we will all disappear and fuse with a new artifact spirit. In the future, there will be no Little Fool, Little 5 or Little 7. We will all lose our independent divine souls. Little Fool said. Without waiting for Night Sorrow to react, he used the forbidden secret technique of the Eternal Divine Tower. He forcefully fused with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. After fusing together, the Eternal Divine Tower emitted an extremely dazzling light. Then it suddenly trembled in the void. It was as if they were fighting. You want to fuse with an ultimate divine artifact? It won't be that easy. Seeing the Eternal Divine Tower fused together, the statue of extreme destruction suddenly said this and flew up to collide with the Eternal Divine Tower in the void. Facing this collision, the Eternal Divine Tower, which was struggling non-stop, did not dodge and was directly sent flying. Bastard! You think you're so great just because you're the statue of extreme destruction? Seeing the statue of extreme destruction send the Eternal Divine Tower flying, Night Sorrow, who was already feeling uncomfortable because of Little Fool's words, was completely furious. He suddenly launched an attack on the statue of extreme destruction. However, his attack still did not cause any damage to the statue. The statue of extreme destruction was continuously attacked by Night Sorrow. He sneered. You don't have the ability to break through my defense. It's better for you to surrender. Surrender without a fight? You're dreaming. Night Sorrow, who was surrounded, was sent flying by Andrew while attacking the statue of extreme destruction. However, he was not seriously injured. After getting up, he used the trapping formation triple combo and the Starfire Sun and Mother Spear on Andrew. If this move landed on Andrew's body normally, even if it couldn't kill him, it would definitely severely injure him. But this time, it was blocked by the statue of extreme destruction. This made Yishang completely enraged. He sneered. Can't you block it? I'll let you block it again. Then he summoned the ancient coffin that was giving birth to a world and smashed it toward the statue of extreme destruction. At this moment, the statue of extreme destruction still didn't take Night Sorrow's attack seriously. Naturally, it didn't dodge. However, after being hit this time, the head of the statue was suddenly shattered. What? How could this be? Seeing this scene, Andrew was so scared that his pupils suddenly constricted. He was so shocked that he was almost speechless. The other cultivators were the same. They didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to smash the head of the statue of extreme destruction. After a moment of silence, Andrew roared, Night Demon, you disgraceful thing! How dare you damage the statue of the Dean? Today, I will expel you from the Heaven Slaughtering Academy. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.